Hey everyone, welcome back to Finance Rocks. Today, the topic for the live stream, how to manage impulse spending this holiday season. Pertinent to today because it is Black Friday. And I have a guest on the live stream. I want everyone to welcome Chris Luger from Heavy Metal Money. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great. Hi, Roxanne. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a very relevant topic, right? Black Friday.
Were you ever one of those Black Friday shoppers? Did you head out at the crack of dawn and to get those massive deals?
I've done my fair share, yes.
Yeah, I did. It's interesting. Years ago, I would go out again, 5 in the morning, whatever. And there was a time when so many deals all involved like mail-in rebates. Like you had to like mail in rebates to get free flash drives and free CD-ROMs and free all these things. Yeah, I would get so much crap I didn't need.
Mm.
And I remember I would like make lists. Like I would know where I was going. I would go to like seven different stores. It was a thing. I would go broke saving money, basically.
Yeah, it's very tempting, right? Because I mean, there is some legitimate argument to buying things when there are sales on.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
finding balance there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a very common problem to overspend and have impulse spending, especially around the holidays. One thing I wanted to mention is a lot of the times the people will plan to buy things for themselves, right? Whether it's little purchases or, like we just said, taking advantage of holiday discount sales. And so, yeah, have you used holiday shopping to buy things for yourself?
Absolutely. And I think one of the main things I still do is now's a great time for streaming services. So like I'll get like one of or maybe a couple of the streaming services, and often it'll be through Amazon. So if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can add network stuff, right? For like 99 cents a month for 6 months or whatever. And I'll do that for a few different streaming services, and then I'll catch up on those shows until they until my deal expires, and I'll wait till next year. But that's one of the main things I use it for sure.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, there's certain things that are good to buy at certain times of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you buy for yourself?
So it depends. I do tend to like save up things to purchase, if like the month or two leading up to Black Friday, sometimes I will save things. And, I kind of always do that anyway. And actually, one of my tips for today is what I call purchase procrastination. So, anytime you want something, instead of impulse purchasing it, to put it on a list and wait a predetermined number of days until you buy it. I like to wait until the following month's budget. So, kind of sometimes it's a month exactly, sometimes it's a little more than a month. And so I write it down. I write down the date that I added it to the list, what the item is, the expected dollar amount, and kind of like the reason why I want it. And, I want to point out to people that writing it down, I think, is such a great way to honor the intention of what you want. Because I think a lot of people just try to ignore like their impulses on what they want to purchase. But I find that writing it down really helps with like the management of that. Because then it's like, okay, what I want matters. And then time will tell whether or not that's something I really want or if it was just a fleeting impulse. So a lot of the times I don't end up buying the thing or they sit on my purchase procrastination list a long time or until Black Friday. So I think that like being able to write it down and save it for later is a really helpful tip for people.
Yeah, totally. I do agree. I usually have at least the 24-hour rule,
Mm,
right? I'll come back tomorrow, but again, it can be later. One thing that I've done, and if it's something that I want, not necessarily a need, right? Like I know one thing that I've used a couple different times, again, putting it off was so I have those of you that are in the music may know what a battle vest is. So I have a battle vest. It's a denim vest with music patches all over it. Anyway, it's a thing. So anyway, so some of those patches I will get through like Etsy, for example, right? And it's happened multiple times where I'll put, three, four different patches in my cart and then I walk away. And then tomorrow or like in 2 days, they'll send me an email saying, hey, you left these in your cart and here's 20% off. So, hey, not only did I wait, but I also got a discount. So that is something that I've used a few times.
Okay, I absolutely love that tip. And in fact, one of the things that I was going to share as well is that it can feel like scarcity, right? Like, oh, things are on sale now. I
Hmm.
should buy them now. Or just like the desire to buy something because, oh, otherwise I might not be able to get it. But I think switching from scarcity mindset on sales to an abundance mindset on sales is very helpful. And,
Mm.
reminding yourself of times like that where that has happened. And that's absolutely happened to me where I really wanted something. I saw it in the store and then I said, okay, not yet. I'm going to go home and think about it. And then when I came back, it was on sale. So then, you actually end up saving money that way. It has happened to me where the thing I wanted is no longer available or couldn't find it. But I find that kind of more often than not, they're on sale. And, sales, like they want you to keep coming back. They keep publishing sales. I've never gone shopping and had there been nothing on sale. So,
They're like Kohl's. Kohl's will have the sale for not having a sale. It's like, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah, the in between sale, the non holiday, half birthday sale.
That's right. That's right. And the one thing that I think is important to point out is that if you do happen to, I don't know, give in to some sort of impulse and you buy that thing, you know, don't necessarily feel that bad because I mean, again, we're trying to curb that, but there is so much science and psychology that goes into getting you to buy the thing, right? I mean, those marketers are absolutely genius. They're doing things, whether it's online or in person, they're going to do things like, cater to nostalgia, right? Like something that makes you want to buy that thing. Or, they rely on your long days decision fatigue, right? By the end of the day, you've made like a million decisions and your brain's like super tired and you're like, I'm done. I'm just going to, you know, buy this thing. Or like I was horrible at that. Like when I was working downtown Minneapolis and it was a long day, I come home on the way home. It's so much easier just to pick up pizza on the way home or whatever, right? And I could easily not spend the money and go home and make dinner, but I've already made 200 decisions that day. So just give yourself a little bit of grace. Like I get it, but there are people out there that focus specifically on how to get people to buy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a fair fight. Like
It
you
is
said,
not. Yes.
they're investing, tons of money into their marketing.
Oh,
And
millions.
yeah, and it works. And people don't like to admit that the marketing works on them, but so I try and catch myself when I do that because there absolutely have been times where like I drive by a sign for like Outback Steakhouse and then I'm like, oh my God, a bloomin' onion would be so good
Oh,
right now.
don't even start. Yes.
I know, I know. I shouldn't even say that because that's like an advertisement for them because now it's in everybody's
Right.
brains here. Uh, so I know
Right.
trying to remind myself that their marketing works. And I like to
Well,
lean in on this too and be like, this is kind of one way to stick it to the man is like
mm,
your advertising is not going to work on me, sir.
yeah, but I mean, it's everything. It's end caps. It's the smells in stores. It is engineered to get you to buy that thing, right?
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I am absolutely so. Those of you that may, if you're in the Midwest area, there's like a Menards. It's kind of like a Lowe's, right? It's like a home improvement store, but when you walk in, there's like one huge wall of like deals, and I swear I cannot walk in there without like it's hard. It's hard not to, buy that peanut butter salted nut roll because they're fantastic and they're on sale.
Yeah.
But anyway,
No, I think that's good. I think having some rules for yourself around this area is helpful. So, a couple of the things that I have done is I have a very strict, I'm not allowed to buy things at the check stand. So that, because yeah,
Mm,
like you said, you're decision fatigued after, I mean, sometimes I'll spend like an hour at the store.
yeah.
So by then I'm tired. I'm not going to make good decisions. They're often more expensive. So it's like, I have a deal with myself where if I really truly want something that's on the check stands, like a candy bar, I can walk myself back to the candy section and buy it if I must, but I cannot buy it from the check stands. I find that to be pretty helpful. And then also like no spending after 4 p.m. Like
Mm.
why not just reserve our spending for earlier in the day when we have our willpower intact and we're going to be more successful in that.
Yeah, I'm really bad. Like, don't snack after 5. It's really hard.
Mm, yeah.
But yes, I totally get it. Don't spend after. I like that. That's a good one,
Yeah, thank you.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it is hard, but like you said, it's putting those guide rails like shop with intention and not emotion, right? Like, will this actually improve my life? You
Mm.
know, like, um, like I remember there, sometimes I can be, excuse me, like, uh, last year, I remember this last year, Aldi, where I go for my groceries and stuff, there was, I mean, it was taking the internet by storm. These like Kringle, like pastry things that were just phenomenal, but it was hard to find if they had them because they were selling so fast and this and that. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, do I need this to bring me 10 minutes of joy? Or will my stomach regret it because I'll eat the entire thing in like a day?
Mm.
So yeah, use intention, not emotion. So,
Yeah. So much of our spending is emotional. I don't know that people really realize that. Um, I think that I'm not a therapist. Sometimes I pretend to be one on the internet. But I think some helpful prompts would be what emotion do you believe you will feel when you want to buy something? What emotion do you hope to feel by buying something? And then really asking yourself, what else can I do to feel that emotion? So like if you're wanting to go shopping because you feel sad and you catch yourself doing that, and you hope to feel happiness by buying something, call a friend or listen to a song that you really love. So, trying to think of what other things you can do other than spending money that will elicit the same or similar emotion.
mm, for sure. I like that.
Yeah.
I think, and back to what you mentioned earlier, like you have those rules set up. It's something kind of simple, but if you just try to stick to the list, like if you make a list and stick to it, it will help block those emotional things, right? Those emotional spending pieces or emotional buying because you're kind of just sticking to what's on the list. I know it's super hard. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll give a little bit of leeway. I'll have a list. I'll go to Aldi. Sometimes I switch between Aldi or Walmart, but like I'll go in with my list. And then once I get everything on the list, I'm like, okay, I'll pick one fun thing, right? Just give me a little bit of, hey, well, this is something I wanted to try. But if you stick on the list, it's just it helps curb that emotional piece. Sometimes I'll do it when my kids were small and I was shopping with my kids. It helped them too because they're always like, "Well, Dad, can we get this? Can we get this? Can we get this?" All the time, right? And if you help them stay focused with the list, and then you're like, "Okay, you can go pick out one treat, snack, something for $5." And now they're way more intentional on what are the kids going to pick out. And it's kind of fun to see what they choose.
Hmm.
Sometimes when my kids were toddlers, like, my son, he would go and bag of frozen broccoli. I'm like, okay, like whatever, because he's a toddler. Whatever. But anyway,
Mm. That's so fun. I like that. Yeah, I think that a lot of our impulse spending can kind of be derived from depriving ourselves too much or believing that we're depriving ourselves too
yeah,
much.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's kind
totally.
of like the one fun thing is kind of like giving yourself permission to buy something guilt free, and to kind of, honor that. side of yourself. And I like that you do it with boundaries too, because you didn't just say buy one thing of whatever cost. It also had the $5,
Mm-hmm.
boundary on it. Yeah. Why don't we check in with the
Cool.
chat real quick? It looks like
Yeah,
Andrew is
totally.
here. Andrew, hello.
Hi, Andrew.
Time to go all out at Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Andrew, no, we've talked about this more than a dozen times. Yeah, I feel you on giving yourself grace. Whenever I spend money on something I really don't need, I cringe so hard. Like that could be X dollars in retirement.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a really good one, right? Because that's like the cost benefit. What else could you be doing with that money or opportunity cost?
Yeah, I like that. Do you, or maybe our viewers, do you think that you look at what you've spent on something, do you break it down on like, well, what's the cost per use of that thing? Like, oh, I'm gonna buy this jacket. Well, how many times am I gonna wear that jacket? Does that make sense? So like, um, I remember like there was this awesome leather jacket I wanted when I was in Chicago. And at the time, I'm like, well, there's no way I can spend $300 on this jacket because I was thinking, okay, how many times am I going to wear it? It's like so many dollars per use. It seemed really expensive. Um, but yeah, just something to think about, right?
Mm, yeah, I think that's a great tip. When I was like, aggressively broke, when I was paying off debt and going to school, I was very strict with myself about that. And I would even do like, okay, what's the break even point on me
Mm,
buying a bicycle? And then I committed to riding my bike that number of times to school and work. And then I
wow.
actually tracked it. So yes, absolutely. Because yeah, anytime you're spending in order to save, it can be helpful. It can be a good strategy, but so many times it gets, taken too far, right? To where, yeah, it's really just spending at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like back to what Andrew mentioned too about that could be so many dollars in retirement. It's also just looking at the future you, right? Like, oh, my future self would be proud of me because I did this thing. And now it's that amount in retirement, looking at that future self. I know it's hard, like it's super hard to think years in the future, but it can work. It can help.
Yeah. I actually saw a study, it was a while ago now, but where participants looked at an AI generated image of their future self, like an image of
Mm,
them projected into the future, and they were significantly less likely to impulse purchase things and to, buy things with less intention. So, yeah, I think absolutely thinking about your future self, your retirement, your future money situation, very helpful.
was I more fit and had hair? That would be my future self.
That would be more motivating for you. I think it's really funny that we are how long are we into this? Uh,
uh,
I don't even know where to
20
see
minutes,
that.
20
We're
minutes.
we're 20 minutes in, two finance creators, and we have not even talked about budgeting. So
Yes.
that cracks me up. So yeah, budgeting is a good way to help control your impulse spending, right? Because then you have some kind of guardrails on your overall spending as well.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is if you know you're that type of person and you kind of struggle with that, maybe put a line item in your budget that is whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Like this is your free fund. This is like that line item you're going to spend on your budget this month on that impulse stuff. And so you know that if you're going to spend, at the checkout or you're going to spend on the candy bar or whatever, because maybe they use Starbucks as their treat, right? Oh, I'm driving to work. I'm going to quick run through Starbucks. If you know you're going to do that a couple times a month or a few times a month, put that in your budget. And then maybe you don't feel as so much like it's an impulse. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of the way I think about it. If you know you're that, I don't want to say weak, if that's your weakness, at least, because what you don't want to do is throw your budget like, have a crisis, right? And all of a sudden you don't have the money that you needed because of the impulse spending, right?
Yeah. Oh, looked like you froze up for a second there.
Oh no, am I still here?
You're
Hello?
here. You're here.
All right.
Where am I? You're here. Uh, okay, so I love talking about this. You mentioned like going to Starbucks and, thinking of that as a, treat, like admitting that to yourself. And I think that it is so helpful for your finances. I call it uh inappropriate use of the word need. So many of
Mm,
us tell ourselves over and over again that the things that we're buying are things we need and that we have to buy. And so shifting into, kind of admitting to ourselves more that some of the things that we're buying are wants, it kind of it puts us into gratitude instead of, oh, like I never get to treat myself. I never go, like I had a client one time tell me that she never, gets to travel or go on vacation. And she had just gone to visit her family like 3 weeks before that. And I was like,
mm,
well, you had a great trip with your family. Why does that not count as, a fun thing that you got to do that you wanted to do? So I think that we need to be really careful about what things we consider wants and what things we consider needs. If you go to an expensive dinner like sushi or something, some portion of that, yes, is a need. You need to eat, but it's like minimum viable need, right? It's like some portion of that is want, some portion of that is need. And so just calling it, oh, I needed to get something to eat. Well, you could have gone with something much less expensive. You wanted to. And what a good thing to be able to give yourself something that you want and then, feel grateful that you're able to do that for yourself.
yeah, totally. Do you feel, let me ask you this, because I'm susceptible to this for sure. What do you feel about like social spending or kind of like the peer pressure piece of it, right? So like if somebody if friends or coworkers invite you out to lunch or whatever, or maybe you have family that kind of expects gifts or something. Um, because that's one thing where you know, it adds up quickly, especially for me dining out, eating out. It adds up for me really quickly. But the thing is, like, if my uncle calls me and says, hey, Chris, you want to go to lunch? Let's go get barbecue. I often will just like, okay, I'll meet you there at noon or whatever. And then after the fact, I'm like, wow, that was $30 I didn't need to spend. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So the biggest thing is it's hard for me to get over that whole peer pressure social spending piece. So if you got tips around that, that'd be awesome.
yeah. So I'll give you two answers. um, because I have addressed this differently in different phases. When I was, like I said earlier, aggressively broke and paying off debt and whatnot, I absolutely had some very strict rules for myself around that kind of thing. So it would be, so I had one where it's like, well, I'm not going to purchase anything from anybody that's like, selling Tupperware, like,
Mm,
and I do want to support like my friends and their businesses and whatnot. But that was one of the things that I decided I'm just going to say no until my debt is paid off. And, now that I get to do that, it's so fun. And like, I try and support people whenever they're starting something or, kind of whatever business endeavors that they have. As far as going out, I made sure like for lunch, I always like brought lunch for work. And so then I always had an automatic out of like, oh, sorry, I brought this for lunch and I need to, I need to eat it or it's going to go bad or, that kind of thing. Because yeah, social, it's so good for our mental health, right? To go out with our friends and family, even buying gifts, it's part of our cultural social expectation, you know. So it was things like having a full calendar, kind of filling my calendar with things that um, I would be like, and like kind of training myself to be like pausing and say, like, hey, I need to go and check my calendar before I commit to this. And then that gave me a little while to decompress, think about it, if it was a good time, if I could afford it budget wise, instead of just like the instant, yes, I'll go out to lunch. I think counter offering is another really good one. So, kind of
mm,
always being prepared with a few inexpensive restaurants that you can pitch, um, and or like inviting people over to your house. Like, if someone invites you to something, it can feel kind of hurtful to just be like, oh, no, sorry, I'm trying to pay off debt. So having a few things prepared as counter offers is one way that I did that. I have absolutely been ranting.
No, that's great. No, absolutely. I
Um,
uh I think the one thing that I know, like when I was working downtown, and we would often, you know, there'd be a handful of us. Hey, let's quick go to lunch. We'd like walk the Skyway. We'd get, like you said, sometimes it's sushi, Chinese food, whatever, burgers, whatever. And then when I first discovered that, this is like 2016 or so, and I was like, oh wow, my spending's out of control. I need a budget, all this stuff. So what I started to do is just I gave myself like, well, on Fridays I will do that. Right. So I at least put a little bit of, I put like, okay, I'm going to bring food, I'm going to bring lunch, I'm going to meal plan, whatever it was. But then at least it gives me a little bit, I can go socialize with my friends or my coworkers on Fridays, that type of thing. So yeah, that was one way that I helped, I guess, satisfy that. I scratched that itch.
that's great. I really like that. Yeah, because that's like that is some kind of boundary, and that it's kind of like counter offering. If you get
Hmm.
invited to lunch on Tuesday, be like, "Oh, sorry, I brought lunch, but I am free on Friday.
There you
Would you
go.
like to do something on Friday?"
Perfect.
Yeah. Gifts is tough. I will say gifts is tough. When I was paying off debt, I did still buy gifts for like my three little brothers were still young at the time. And,
Hmm.
it's kind of like, well, they're kind of worse off than me. And so I did still buy them gifts. Um, and that kind of tapered down a little bit as I got more serious and I shifted towards kind of buying a lot of really little inexpensive things. So that way they had like more to open, more gifts to open. Um, but then, still like pretty affordable for me. Like I even bought like thrift store shirts for them and wrap them up. And, I would like make cookies, but then still wrap up the package in wrapping paper. So they had to unwrap it, things like that. And with the promise to myself that when I was done paying off debt, when I got my finances in order, that I would treat them big time. And and I'm really happy with that. That turned out great because I did actually take all three of them to the Grand Canyon.
Oh,
Um,
so
yeah,
cool.
to Las Vegas. We went and did indoor skydiving. So,
Oh,
and
I want to do that so bad. That looks so
oh,
fun.
you should. It's really fun. So yeah, I
That's
think
cool.
that and so I'm glad that I followed through with that, right? Because it wasn't just like, oh, I'm just a cheap bastard, basically, who is
Hmm.
never going to gift them things. It was a really focused short time frame so that I could execute on, buying them things that I wanted to.
That's awesome. Because I mean, and that's something that I struggle with too. Because I mean, I love gifting to people and like seeing the smile on their face when they open stuff. So I really try to be intentional. When I used to be better at it. I mean, like finding those perfect gifts for those people, but yeah, it was hard. When you're trying to save money, yeah, it's hard. So I totally get that.
Yeah. Have you had any particular strategies for doing that? Like controlling it?
You know, I think the biggest thing was just being more prepared, right? So like I would be doing that kind of all year long. Like if I found that certain thing that I was like, oh, my daughter would absolutely love that. That's the thing. Because it seems like if all of a sudden now you're scrambling, a couple weeks before Christmas, you absolutely will spend more. You're kind of like in this panic mode where you're like, well, I just need something. You're going to spend more than what you typically would, I think. So just kind of, I've kind of always had that, in the back of my head. If this is something that is super awesome, maybe that's my, I don't know. Is that a love language? Like giving gifts? I know
Yep.
receiving gifts is a love language. I don't know
Yeah.
if giving gifts is a love language.
I think it's I think it's both.
Is it both?
I
Okay.
think it's both.
But yeah, that's definitely something where it's like, so, I mean, now I for sure all year long, like if I see something, I'll get it. And I have a spot downstairs in my storage room where I'll hoard stuff for birthdays and Christmases. And that's kind of what I do. So,
Okay, this is another subject that I really love because I found kind of the same thing like you're talking about, kind of being more thoughtful, right? Like wanting to
Hmm.
give very like even more thoughtful gifts if you're not spending as much. And I
Hmm.
have found that too. Like I as I transitioned away from spending more on like the holidays and gifts, like birthday gifts and whatnot, I found that I was actually nicer to
Mm.
people and like, yeah, kind of more thoughtful about what I was giving them. So, yeah, it's so interesting, right? Like I think it's pretty common for giving to be kind of like a way to show love or way to give love. And then if you scale that back, it doesn't just go away. Like that desire to, show love to the person might just come out in different ways, which I found to be very interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I remember, I mean, I remember one that just sticks out was um, like my uncle, one, he's always super pissed. Like, I told you not to get me anything, like every single year, right? But I remember, I had a friend of mine that's just a brilliant stained glass artist. And one time she had done a picture of this like awesome fish, this walleye kind of like swimming and just a beautiful piece of stained glass art. And I'm like, oh, my uncle's a huge angler. He fishes all the time. And I'm like, I bet you he would really, really love that. And so I got it for him. I mean, literally, it was like, 6 months before Christmas or whatever. But then when I finally gave it to him, he's like all pissed because I got him a gift. But then he's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Mm.
And now when I go over to his house, it's hanging in his window.
Hmm.
Right. I mean, it was like that little thing. So that's one thing where I always remember it's like, if you, I don't know, take time and find the right thing, it helps. So that's the way I look at it. I don't know. I was rambling, but
No, you're good. I think that was a really good example. And the argument could be made that you could do those intentional things while still spending money, while still giving like expensive gifts. And I mean, I would say that that's probably a fair argument. Just being more, I don't know, having the awareness about how you are expressing yourself and modifying that based on whether or not, like, on your financial situation and whether or not you can truly afford to be doing those things right now.
yeah. And there's, I know it's hard. People always say, maybe handmade gifts or doing something like that. And I have done that as well. I remember um, for my kids once I did a framed picture for like my daughter for Valentine's Day. And I mean, again, super simple. It costs like nothing. You go get the little acrylic frames from like Target or Walmart. And then I hot glued those little candy hearts around the frame
Hmm.
and put a picture of me and my daughter in the little thing. I mean, it's super simple, but it's again, you save money and you put the time and effort into it. And I think, even though she was a kid at the time, I think she did appreciate that, right? So it was pretty good. So if you can spend the time, if you have, if you're crafty, if you're skilled, I mean, even if you you know, like draw or paint a picture. I don't know, like anything like that, I think it can go far, even though it didn't cost a lot of money. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. I've learned a lot of skills doing DIY gifts for people. And I know crafting, it's kind of like it's kind of like running, right? Where people joke about like, oh, it's a very expensive and expensive sport. Like, so, you show it like, I don't know. One time I refinished a TV stand and it ended up being like $70 worth of supplies for like a $20 thrift store table. Uh, it can, but for the most part, it can be very affordable. Like you said, the candy hearts and
yeah.
hot glue. I mean, that's a very affordable DIY, and it's kind of special and
Hmm.
unique, unique and memorable.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
I think that's great. Yeah, I've DIY'd quite a few gifts in my day, crocheted hats and scarves. The only two things I can crochet for, for the record. Um, so yeah, I think that's a good tip as well. Uh, Yeah, I think as far as like impulse spending in general, so maybe not like holiday specific, but it kind of ties into like what we're talking about with like DIYing things. To have less impulse spending, get a hobby,
Yeah.
distract yourself, limit the amount of time that you're shopping, things like that. I think that are good. It's kind of like any kind of habit that you're trying to change, right? Do something
Hmm.
else. It's harder to replace something with nothing than it is to replace something with something.
Yeah. And that in turn will then avoid exposure to the stores, right? You wouldn't just go to the store to just looking or browsing and walking up and down every aisle. And that's the crazy part is like I'll see like on social media people that they that's their hobby is going shopping. And I'm just like, "Ugh."
Mm,
You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, I remember someone I worked with, like that would be like her and her daughter, like they would go to Chicago for a vacation, for a weekend to go shopping. And I'm like, wow, I mean, don't get me wrong, like if I'm sometimes at a concert, yeah, I'll buy a t-shirt. Or sometimes if I'm on vacation, I'll buy um, you know, let's face it, like a high priced type of, uh what am I trying to say? What's the thing you buy when you're on vacation to bring it back? What's the word I'm looking?
souvenir.
Souvenir. Yes, you'll buy a high price souvenir, right?
Hmm.
So I get that, but man, to have your whole hobby shopping, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one because, especially for women, like a lot of the times it's like, it's kind of a social thing to go, so it's like, maybe a guy goes with his buddies and shoots pool. Shoots pool, is that the right verb?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And that's their social thing. Some money is spent doing that, getting drinks and appetizers and then the pool itself. Uh, and then, for women, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we'll go shopping together. And maybe it's a little bit of like function because it's like, well, I actually need to go shopping to buy a pair of pants anyway. Do you want to come with me? So I
Mm,
think that there's ways to have shopping as a hobby where it's not an inappropriate one, like, that makes it okay and can fit into a budget, but there
sure,
there have been times where I've been out shopping with people and then it's like they've asked me, "Are you really not gonna buy something?" And so it's like, okay, yeah, there is a little bit of pressure to,
sure,
to buy things if you're doing that as a hobby, and I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't know, I didn't see anything that I wanted or needed," or the things that we looked at, I don't know, they were too expensive, so
right.
I don't
And
know.
that's no, you're absolutely right. And I think that sometimes if I'm in that situation, it's like in my head, I think it has to be like that thing has to be a hell yeah, or else it's a hell no.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it's got to be something that's just over the top. Like, wow, this is something that truly I've been looking for forever, or it's something that I'm really gonna cherish. That kind of thing. That where it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do it if it's just like, it's kind of cool, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, so again, kind of having some boundaries or some, like, rules for yourself on, what is appropriate while you're doing it. So,
Yeah,
yeah, like, if it's already on my purchase procrastination list, then, going shopping with the girls to buy it is fine. Giving yourself a dollar amount, like, "Okay, I can spend $20 on this, shopping hangout session that I'm going on." So putting some kind of boundaries, healthy boundaries around it, you know, can make it reasonable.
yeah. I put a boundary. So you may not believe this, but I have a concert T-shirt problem, and so one thing that I've done, and it's been in effect now for several years, is that I don't need any more black concert T-shirts. And so if I'm at a live concert and I look over the merch booth, and if it's just a bunch of black T-shirts, I don't even go look at them.
Mm,
But if I see a couple other like alternate colors, well, I'll go see if they're really cool. I mean, hence my new hoodie because it's winter. But my new hoodie,
mhm.
I was like, pull the plug patches. This is a shameless plug, but pull the plug patches. Um, they had Iron Maiden Seventh Son series of stuff. and I was like, oh my God. One, I love the album, but two, it was white. And I was like, that hardly ever happens. So
Mm.
I had to buy the hoodie. So
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, you said if it's an all black table, you don't even look at it.
yep.
And that reminds me of another thing that I do when I'm feeling the urge to impulse purchase. And this is kind of a silly one, to be honest. But I will actually put my hand up like this and not look at the thing. And it's so funny because I have seen I've been doing that for years, and then I eventually saw this thing that said the more we like physically look at something, the more likely we are to buy it. So
Hmm.
it's like I did not know that that was a thing, but I was unintentionally like, kind of using that psychology of okay, I'm actually not going to look at this because
Sure.
and it's things like it's like calorie or like nutrient not dense Oreos, like a new kind of Oreo that's on the end cap kind of thing where it's like,
Hmm.
"Oh shoot, I need to not look at that because I know that I have plenty of other treats going on right now. It's not healthy, it's not on my list, for all the reasons that are legitimate. I do not want to buy those, but I feel that urge to So yeah, not looking at it, not going down the chips, candy, cookie, soda aisles. Like I just straight up skip those when I'm walking through the grocery store now.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing that you mentioned earlier. It's like changing your environment, right? So if you're not going down those aisles, it will, you know, I guess less
Yeah.
you'll less have the impulse to do that for sure.
Yeah. You
Totally.
can there's less temptation.
Ah, temptation, that's the word.
Yeah, and you're more able to resist the other temptations, right? Because then you're not, you mentioned decision fatigue at the beginning, because then
Hmm.
you're not exposing yourself to more decision fatigue of going down that aisle and testing your willpower.
Right. Do you think that so I mean, I just very simple types of things is to try to add friction, like let's make this more difficult. And people have always heard, again, one of the most common things is remove the remove your automatic payment methods from websites or something like that. Even go to the extreme, like don't have Amazon on your phone, right? Stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, if you don't save your payment information or like your credit card, it it does add a little bit of friction. I mean, if you really want something, obviously you're going to do it. But I'm telling you, Amazon swipe to buy is just dangerous. I mean, one
Mm.
swipe and it's on your way to your house. Like
Mm.
that's dangerous for many reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we haven't really talked that much about resisting online impulse spending. So yeah, that would absolutely be one.
Totally. Do you feel as though, do you
Though though.
feel as though how much of it as because we you mentioned how it's so much more of an emotional thing. What about people that are just looking for that? They're hunting for dopamine, right? It's just like a boredom thing. And so for them, impulse spending is a way that they do. I mean, again, they're on their phone, they're scrolling, they're oh man, there was like one I remember one time when my uncle discovered Timu. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
I mean, it's just like just so many things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, anyway, I don't know. Like, what do you think about how to avoid the hunt for dopamine and the cure for boredom that's not online shopping?
Yeah, it's tough because I mean, it sounds like kind of everyone in the world right now has a dopamine problem, right? Because of phones and technology and, you know, that easy access to that hit of dopamine.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I think as far as like spending money, it definitely comes down to being aware of when you're doing it and redirecting yourself to some other thing. Um, so it's like, if you're used to getting on your phone after dinner and doing some online shopping, realizing that there's that connection between as soon as dinner is done, that's when this habit starts. And that's the habit that I want to interrupt. So then, setting a reminder or writing it on your hand or putting something in your dishwasher to alert you, like, oh, hey, you're done with dinner, do this other thing instead. So having a particular activity or something, like maybe it's phone a friend, right? As soon as I put my dish in the dishwasher, then I phone a friend, or, you know, as soon as I put my plate in the kitchen or whatever. So, things like that, being aware of the order in which you're doing things and like what the triggers are for when you start online shopping. It might be time of day, like you get off work and hop on your phone. What else can you do to relax yourself, calm down from work? What else can you do that's kind of like low energy that will feel good and kind of take the place of that thing?
Sure. I think one thing that also often happens is it's almost kind of like the whole decision fatigue thing, but it's almost like people sometimes fall into this, well, I deserve this. Oftentimes it's bigger things, right? It can be, um, for instance, they have their new car with their giant lease or whatever, and they're like, oh, well, I work hard, I deserve this car, even though it's like a $700 a month lease or whatever. But I think sometimes it happens just in that impulse thing too, right? After a long day or whatever. Well, I earned this Louis Vuitton bag, Andrew.
Andrew.
But no, but I earned this, like whatever that is. There's this voice in your head that whispers, "Oh, I worked hard all day," or I've been so disciplined. I deserve this thing, and you kind of throw budget out the window. I mean, how do you curb those type of feelings?
Yeah, I mean, that's the mental battle, right? As
Hmm.
far as like you're giving yourself reasons to buy things. And, I think our human brains are excellent at coming up with reasons. I could probably come up with all kinds of reasons for buying anything. Um, so, being really careful about the reasons that we're giving ourselves, because there is a nugget of truth to it. And there's a nugget of truth to every reason that you would give. So, I work hard, true. I deserve nice things, also true. So, being able to admit those things, but then still redirect ourselves to, you know, our goals and our reasons why we want to save money or pay off debt. Because you could also say, I work hard, so I'm going to put my money towards my goals. You know,
Oh,
I deserve nice things. I deserve to have the money for my goals, the things that really matter in life. So, being really careful about using our thinking in a way that supports our goals and our financial goals in particular, right?
hmm.
Um, to leverage that kind of thinking, because it could go either way. So why not redirect yourself to the more positive way of thinking about it?
Sure, sure. Do you think there are because I've fallen for this, and I'm gonna admit it because I'm only human, and sometimes it comes at a time of weakness. But for me, what really gets me is those memory triggers, like those emotional memory, like we talked a little bit earlier, like the nostalgia thing, where it intentionally will get me to be interested or buy that thing. And it actually happened. Um, I don't know if it was Facebook marketing or maybe it was on Amazon or whatever. But I'm a kid of the 80s, Gen Xer, and there was this great like GI Joe t-shirt that showed up with all the GI Joe like animated cartoon like that I grew up on, and I was like, "Oh my God, that is awesome." And so I bought the t-shirt. And I'm
Mhm.
like, it's silly, but and it wasn't black. It was like navy blue, but I'm just saying but no, it was one of those where it absolutely pulled on like, oh my gosh, I'm 13 years old all over again. I would love to have that when I was 13, and so I bought it. And
Mhm.
did I need to spend $19 on the t-shirt? Absolutely not. But it was one of those things where it absolutely pulled on me as a child, and I'm like, that was so great. So I think those emotional triggers going back to childhood was something that I fell for. I mean, has that ever happened to you, or is there ways that you can help avoid those type of things?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's a hell yes, right? sometimes
It
you do
was,
things.
it was exactly, exactly. It was a hell yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm one of those financial coaches. I don't always tell people like, I want people to buy the things they want to buy, the things that matter to them, the things that are important. If it's a hell yes today, though, I will say it'll be a hell yes 30 days from now after it's, past the gauntlet of your purchase procrastination list. And nearly anything you can buy online too. So it's like if you see it in a store and it's a hell yes, you can add it to your list and buy it online later. So, I actually wouldn't discourage that kind of thing because,
Hmm.
it's fun and that kind of thing. It can bring so much joy to our lives. And it's like, yeah, how often do you wear that shirt? A few times a month or something maybe,
Sure.
but I don't know. I like that kind of thing, so I think it's fine. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that I definitely give myself a little bit of grace when I'm going to be doing that. But also, one thing I also do though is something I've learned. It, I don't know if it kind of comes from like it's kind of like my previous life. Like I didn't really realize when I was married um, a while ago. I was married for like 15 years, but I didn't realize how much I was keeping my wife's, I don't want to say hoarding, but it was borderline hoarding of stuff at bay. And
Mm,
so, I mean, there was a time when closets were so full you couldn't even put another thing in there. And I remember going through closets and giving stuff to Goodwill, and there'd be like stuff brand new with tags on it. I mean, it was crazy. And so one thing that I've done now when I do go through that, okay, I'm gonna buy this awesome cool GI Joe t-shirt. Okay, well, what shirt now can I get rid of?
mm,
So that's just something that I do to kind of like one in, one out type of thing.
yeah,
So it helps. I mean, it's not necessarily a spending thing, but it just helps me not be super over clutter kind of thing.
yeah. No, I like that. And I do actually think that it can apply to your finances as well because you can sell the item that you're getting rid of.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I've actually had I've had clients do a thing where it's not only one in, one out, but it's amount in, amount out. So it's like,
Hmm.
oh, I have to sell a particular dollar amount in order to make room for this thing that I want. So selling $15 worth of shirts, it might take more than one, right? Because used.
Sure.
But yeah, if you sell $15 worth of clothes, then yeah, buy a $15 shirt, one in, one out.
I love that. No, that's great for sure.
Yeah. It's hard, right? Because then you have to track it and follow through isn't as fun. But
No, I get it. I get
yeah,
it.
yeah, that's good. Um, This is a tip that I didn't come up with. I saw online one time, and it was a girl talking about kind of TikTok and making sure that she created more than she consumed.
Hmm.
And so I think that it kind of ties in with that, right? Like, our if you are feeling the desire to consume, can you shift that into creating something instead? So, putting that energy towards shopping into maybe, starting a side hustle
Hmm.
or some other, or maybe just a hobby, some kind of a creative endeavor. So I think that that's kind of a fun redirect, right? Like instead of consuming, creating.
Yeah. No, totally. I like that. I think we need more of that in society. I mean, seriously, I think that if more people, and that's the thing, I think people, like, for instance, I was just at lunch with my mother-in-law. I'm divorced, but yet my mother-in-law is just an absolutely beautiful person and I still get along with her. So we were at lunch the other day and she said something about how being creative and then she's not creative or something. And I'm like, that's bullshit. I
Mm,
think everyone has some sort of creativity. And I was like, she has made clothes her entire life and she could sew anything. Like she's repaired so many pieces of clothing for me. And and I'm like, I mean, she says she's not creative, but you could sew and make clothes that so many other people couldn't. And that is creative. Like she absolutely has so I think people do have, they got to give themselves more credit. I think that if you look hard enough, you can find some sort of creative outlet. And I think the world would be such a beautiful place if more people created than consumed for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I've experienced that too. A lot of people feeling like they're not creative or even to go as far as resourcefulness, right? Because a lot of resourcefulness is, being creative, like coming up with a creative solution instead of throwing money at every single problem. Which money can be used to solve problems, and sometimes that's appropriate and fine. But for it to be the only solution, um, yeah, tapping into that kind of creativity. And I don't know why there's such a stigma against like calling yourself creative or an
Hmm.
artist, but it definitely exists.
I think the line blurs. People are like, oh, you're engineering, you're all numbers, 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 math, 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 and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? You can be both, right? I don't know. I live in kind of more of the I don't know. I think the create I always try to tell myself that I'm creative. Even though I'm a very I retired as a system engineer, right? I lived in that world, right? It's ones and zeros, right? It's off or on. Like that's how you find out what's wrong, right? I mean, computers and technology, it's not like they just change their mind. It's like, you know, it's they anyway. Um, but yeah, I always like to blend the two. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I was babbling, sorry.
No, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, I actually just recommended that to a client not that long ago. Because he was talking about how when he's short on money, he can be very creative and resourceful
Hmm.
when he needs to be. So we talked about, taking that mindset into when you have money and still like pulling on that, leveraging it. Because I kind of feel the same thing. Like it seems like creativity and resourcefulness are kind of innate. Like that's partly why, humans have been successful, as far as animals go, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
and I find that it feels so good, right? Like if I come up with like a creative solution that doesn't involve spending money, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like that was so fun. Like I solved that problem." It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so but it's also like, camping and being out in nature. It feels good. It's innate in us. Like we have some kind of need for that. But it doesn't just happen, right? You have to pack up all your crap. You have to drive out to nature. So it's kind of the same with creativity and resourcefulness, right? Like you have to make an actual effort towards it. But then, it can feel good. It can be helpful to use those things.
Totally, totally.
Yeah. I went through all of my things. Do you have any other tips to share?
I think one of the big thing too is don't fall for like I was just thinking about this. Don't fall for like the FOMO, because so many times they're going to say, "Oh, it's 80% off," or "only 3 left," or whatever they're trying to do to get you to buy. And I always come back to like 80% off of what? You know what I mean? I mean, so many times there are like, I mean, big tip now, right? Like, um, uh, Black Friday, everyone like goes online, they go to shopping, they go to Amazon, they're like, oh, this says it's, 80% off. I better buy this. But you can use other tools. There's like the Keepa extension. There's websites like Camel, Camel, Camel. You can look and see, well, what has the price been over time? And you notice that, oh, a month ago, they just raised the price 50%. And now that 80% really isn't 80%.
Mm,
So it's like it's this false sense of discount, this false sense of urgency that you have to buy it, and just try to avoid falling for that because most of the time it's not true.
mm, yeah. Yeah. Cause even like 80% off, that you're still spending 20%, right? Like that's still spending on something that you might not actually need or want, like if it was just truly an impulse.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like Kohl's, Macy's, all those ones, when you go the brick and mortars, they'll say that it's 70% off, 80% off. And it's off of MSRP on the tag, which is never going to be their regular price.
Yeah.
So it's misleading, right? So just something to be aware of.
Yeah, I think that's good advice too, to research more.
Hmm.
You're talking about looking at camel, camel, camel. So that's like, historical pricing of it to see, if they're doing that. Um, Taking the time to research everything, it does take time. So that, I mean, that's a fair counter argument, right? That someone might say, oh, well, I don't have time to go to camel, camel, camel. I don't have time to research alternatives. Um, but it's so interesting to me because like everyone focuses so hard on like earning money and, you know, I feel like a lot of my clients can't afford not to spend that
Hmm.
time of researching things because, if it takes you 5 or 10 minutes to research a $60 item, at which point you decide you don't need it or you're going to wait, like, you know, that's $60 for 5 or 10 minutes. That's a very good hourly rate. I'm not going to do the math because
Right. Yep.
I
No,
can't. But
absolutely right. But another thing too is oh, I totally lost my train of thought. It was so brilliant. Anyway, that's all right.
we were
I
talking
got distracted.
about save the amount of effort we put
Oh,
into earning.
to research. So that's the thing too is, and be, I guess, use the tools that you have out there. Like for instance, I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but one of my recent purchases, because I had a friend tell me how brilliant this thing was. Okay. And those of you out there, you're going to hear this and you might think that I'm just a freaking flake, whatever. I don't care. But so a friend of mine was telling me that after using it for several times, she was like questioning, like, oh, why are my legs so sore and stuff? Because she started using a vibration plate, right? These like this like fitness thing where you can do certain exercises on it, and people use it for like lymphatic drainage and stuff like that. But it also can help, especially as you get older. One like myself, over 50, it's good because it helps like with your hips and the strength to help so I don't like fall downstairs when I'm old. Anyway, so she was like, "Oh yeah, it's so awesome. I love it. It's really great." I know nothing about these things. I go to Amazon. There's like 100 of them, all different price points, right? And I'm like, well, which one do you have? Well, then what I did is I just went to ChatGPT and said, I'm looking at purchasing one of these. Can you please do deep research on this? I gave it parameters. It did the research for me and gave me a clear list of like these three top ones based on reviews, a balance of like cost, features, um, and I just that helped me narrow down to like which one I was gonna pick, and I ended up paying like you know. It was Black Friday,
Mm.
so I ended up getting it for like $67 or whatever, and I'm looking forward to I'm gonna go unbox it just today, so we'll
Ah,
go see. But that was one thing where hey, everyone's using AI for stuff. I think using AI to help research those products based on features, based on reviews, based on cost can definitely help you narrow down and save money for sure.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because the it is time consuming. I mean, it's worth it. Like there have definitely been times where I'm like, okay, I want this thing. Um, Google it and see like, is it cheaper on Amazon? Is it
Hmm.
cheaper here? Um, but yeah, that's an interesting one that I hadn't thought of, Chat GPT. I suppose you could also like go to Chat GPT and say, convince me not to buy this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I've never
Yeah,
tried
because
it, but that's kind of interesting.
no, I often do. One of
Oh,
the prompts you say, provide me a counter argument for this or whatever, and
okay.
then have it give me all the negatives per se, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then another thing too is I'll have ChatGPT um, basically ask me specific questions of what I think I would need to provide the better prompt. And then so as you're doing research, it'll ask me questions. Well, what are my goals? What am I trying to do? Would I rather it be this or that? And so as ChatGPT or whatever AI of your choice starts to provide those questions and you provide more feedback, its responses just get stronger. So
Hmm.
I do feel as though, hey, prompt engineering, it is going to be a thing if it's not already. But I'm definitely an advocate for, if you're not leveraging it, if you're sleeping on AI, I'm telling you, you're going to be left behind. That's just my
Mm,
opinion.
yeah. And it really makes the process of this deciding on what to buy or not buy quicker, more efficient, right?
Yep,
'Cause, I mean, then that's
100%.
it might be a 3 minute, it might be a 3 minute. Okay. If it's a five, okay. I don't know. The hourly rate of deciding not to buy things is so worthwhile that it's like, it's sometimes even silly to calculate, right? Like, 10 minutes to save $60.
Hmm.
That would be an outrageous like hourly rate of, it's the equivalent of having earned that in that same amount of time. So, yeah,
Totally.
I think anything that you can do to slow yourself down, whether it's taking the time to put it on a purchase procrastination list and then doing the follow-up of looking for alternatives, trying to convince yourself not to buy it, convincing yourself to wait even longer. I mean, I have items on my purchase procrastination list that have been on there since like 2017 when I started doing it. So, there certainly are, advantages to, yeah,
I mean,
slowing yourself down however you can.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And again, it's helped so many times with helping research and save money, and not only like save money, but really find, like, don't get me wrong, I I will pay for value. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just, there's a difference between being frugal and being cheap, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I just feel as though that if it has the features or the things I need, um, and I'll find value, then I'm paying for it. Like, for instance, I needed a specific outdoor solar powered time lapse camera to look over a construction project I'm doing for 4 months, so I could see this construction project being built. And I'm like, well, I've never set up a outdoor solar powered time lapse camera. So I asked ChatGPT, you know, what are the best? What features should I look for? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, well, um, is there going to be Wi-Fi? Do you need cellular enabled camera? Like things like that. And then, okay, once you get narrowed down, okay, now let's look at price comparison and which one is better based on reviews and that type of thing. So I've used it many times to compare. And I think, to your point, it can save you money, but then also get you, I guess, more focused on what you're looking for, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great because we haven't talked about this at all, but sometimes you buy things that's the wrong thing.
Oh, so many times. Don't get me going.
I actually right now have a unused air filter that I bought for my vehicle, engine air filter. And yeah, it ended up I wasn't like confident that it was the right one, so I went and bought a different one. And now I have the new one and I missed the return window. So it's like,
Ah,
you know, wasted money by not doing enough of the right research. So I
yep.
think that's a good tip too, making sure you fully research or as much as you can. I mean, I did do some research. It just turned out to be insufficient.
Yeah. Well, I've totally done that though. I've ordered stuff and I get it and realized, oh, I didn't realize there was different size diameter of this part or whatever. You know what I mean? I figured, oh, it's just a standard size. No, no, it's not. So yes, I'm right with you.
Yeah. And I would not say that I'm the best person at deciding ahead of time like if I'm going to enjoy the thing or if it's the right thing like so I think that yeah, even for myself that's something that I intend to work on. So,
It's awesome.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Chris, for
Yeah.
being on the channel. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, so you can the easiest way is just to go over to heavymetal.money and you'll find all my socials out there, and also on YouTube. So thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's always fun, man. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
I wish everyone out there a happy holidays coming up. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks again, everybody, for joining and for people rewatching. And I will let you go. So until next time, I hope your finances rock. Bye. Bye. Goodbye. It always takes a
Goodbye.
second to